Hi guys, at the beginning of this episode, it's shown that Song came home on leave. Meow was sitting here with Uncle Andy, and they were all eating. Today Meow's mood was a little worse. And she felt like Song is silent today, and his heart is broken again. So she starts saying, "It seems, brother, that girl has dumped you again. After all, what's lacking in you? You are so handsome, leave her and you'll find more than 100 girls. And besides, she is so arrogant and heartless, she is not suitable for you." She was saying such bad things about her that Song couldn't tolerate it. He says that she is not arrogant at all, but rather very polite and very decent. She just doesn't know how to express herself and we misunderstand her. And then, a fight breaks out between Meow and her brother over this matter. Auntie also intervenes and says that there is another girl named Officer Lee. "I think she will suit you very well." As soon as Song hears this, he leaves without eating, and as he leaves, Dad scolds Meow a lot for not letting the poor boy eat properly. Auntie goes after him with soy milk and tells him, "Please don't mind our words, but we truly feel that because of the family history, you and Su Chin are impossible. We don't want you to get hurt again. That's why we're telling you this, but the rest is up to you. You have to make the decision for your life, and you should think carefully." After this, Song leaves from there. He was standing on the road waiting for a taxi when Officer Lee's car passes by. Now she gives him a lift and tells him that there was a cake shop nearby where she happened to meet him by coincidence, so she thought she would drop him off. When their car stops at the signal here, Su Chin's car also stops next to them. She was happy to see Song, but as soon as she sees Miss Lee sitting with him, she becomes worried and nervousness appears on her face, which Song also feels. Now, moving forward, Miss Lee starts speaking ill of Su Chin and says, "How can that girl do this? You were poor, that's why she dumped you. Why don't you show her that elegant girls are also waiting for you?" Here, Song gives her a shut-up call and says, "This is my personal matter, and I can't allow any outsider to interfere." Hearing this, Officer Lee feels very insulted but still doesn't stop talking. Here, Song tells her that it seems your situation is just like mine. The person I love cannot be with me and you like me. I won't give you a lift. Now, Officer Lee was deeply insulted, and she had no choice but to remain silent. Then they show us a scene at the hospital, where the survival child is now being discharged from that hospital. She had become very attached to Su Chin. She was sad to leave but was going to a good orphanage. After that, they show us a scene where a case comes to Dr. Su, a lady who was having difficulty breathing. All her tests came back normal, but she often had this problem. Dr. Su says that it's actually a psychological issue and it should be seen by a psychiatrist. But his daughter insisted that someone should treat them right away. As the chief surgeon passes by, he overhears all this and comes in, telling the lady that it's a problem of hyperventilation. It was a psychiatric issue, and then he resolves her issue somehow. When they leave, he tells Su Chin that you diagnosed the illness very well, but you lack empathy. You don't understand the patient well, and you don't solve their problem properly. The fire alarm rang at the rescue station today, and they head out on a mission. They were supposed to go on a mission in the mountains. There were some hikers up there who had illegally ventured into the mountains and hadn't been heard from. The local rescue team had tried their best but couldn't succeed. The firefighters from the fire station were called in. When Song arrives there, he sees that all the relatives have gathered and they are repeatedly pressuring the firefighters, saying they are not doing their job properly and are taking too long to rescue. They're saying, "Take as much money as you want from us, just go and rescue them." They seemed very arrogant. Actually, the area was extremely steep, and at night they didn't know much about the area. So, they teamed up with a local guide and started searching in the map for the place where the hikers could be. Now that they understand the possibilities, they set out on a mission in 2 teams. Meanwhile, Tadaechin came to meet Su outside the hospital. Su resolves her anger and says, "I got too angry. I should have been more patient, especially because it was your birthday that day." Then, they both go out to dinner together. Meanwhile, Song had reached the mountains with his team, where the area was very steep, and the cold at night became intense. They were completely unfamiliar with the area, so they were facing a lot of difficulties. After searching for quite some time, they finally spot some hikers who were stranded in one place. Meanwhile, Su and Chen were having a conversation. about their miserable lives. Here, Sue tells Chin that you have a certain ability that, which you doesn't like. You do it with so much enthusiasm and dedication as if this is your ideal job, but Sue Chin was the opposite. If something was done against her will, she would express everything. There, they encounter a victim whom they rescue. His leg was broken and there was a big wound as well. Now, Song couldn't understand anything, so he immediately calls Dr. Sue Chin. Actually, the patient's condition was so bad that he couldn't even touch himself. She was crying loudly and continuously. Here, Sue Chin helps him and explains how to administer first aid to a broken bone. Now, with her help, Song and the other firefighters provide her with proper first aid. Meanwhile, Chun was surprised that Song often calls her. He asks her, what have you thought now? About Song, Sue Chin says, certainly, at this time, I am not in a position to make any decisions of my own. But I hope that in the future, I will become so strong and independent that I can do what I want. From his words, it was clear that she wasn't going to give up on the Song at all. Meanwhile, as firefighters were rescuing hikers from the forest, Ping slips and falls into a ravine. Now his foot was trapped under a rock and he couldn't free himself. Song arrives here to rescue him with a rope, but they don't have proper equipment to move the rock. Meanwhile, all the hikers start shouting, "We're in pain and it's getting colder here. First rescue us, then come back for your friend." Here, Song asks them for water, but none of the hikers had any water. Ping was in a lot of pain, and secondly, it was so cold there that they felt they would freeze. Now, firefighters were struggling to rescue all those hikers and take them to the station. At the same time, it's shown that Sue Chin was trying to contact Song repeatedly, but there was no response from his number. She was very worried that he might be stuck somewhere in the mountains. She hoped he was safe. While all the relatives were impatiently waiting at the rescue station, they became very happy when they returned. However, Jiang gets very angry at a hiker when he sees that the hiker had water but didn't give it when Song asked for it. He couldn't even imagine that people could be so selfish. Now, regardless of how people treated firefighters, their unity among themselves was very impressive, and a while later, their companions reach Song and Ping. They rescue them and take them out. When Song returned, his condition was very bad, but he still didn't care. He was only concerned about those hikers. Here, Jiang tells him that those people had already left because they were afraid of being caught by the police. They were illegally hiking. They risked their lives to save them. But no one even said thank you, instead, they behaved badly with them. That's why Jiang was feeling very upset today, so Song tells him that it seems like this is your first experience. In reality, Mr. Jiang, you were living an ideal life. Enclosed in a glass cover, while people like us, middle-class people, often have to face such situations. Here, Jiang starts to feel upset, thinking that Song is taunting him again because of being rich. But actually, Song was just joking with him. Jiang tells him, I am actually quite sincere, and I didn't choose this profession to become a hero, but I want to become a better person. Song tells him, I know all your thoughts very well, and then he sees that Sue has made several calls and sent many messages. Here Song informs her that I am safe. After this, Sue falls asleep as soon as she sees it. Because she was still awake. A few days later, some girls came outside the rescue station, whom they had rescued a few days ago. And in the meantime, Ping also got injured. She had also brought flowers and fruits for him. When Ping hears that girls have come to meet him, he gets quite excited. But then he realizes that Song sent them from outside, so he gets very disappointed, and the rest of the work was done by his friends. They only give him a bouquet and an apple and orange. All the other friends had shared everything. This part comes to an end. Thank you for watching. Stay connected. Bye. Bye.